Hello and welcome to evening prayer. I have had a hodgepodge of a day. I might even say I've had a hodgepodge of a week. Something became clear to me last night and then even more clear this morning that kind of stopped me in my tracks. Helped me recognize that we may not simply be in a season called in the meantime, comma, or until this pandemic is under control, comma. In fact, it dawned on me that we are actually in a season of already laying down the foundations of the new normal. And once again, I am struck by how important I am realizing is the role of sacred practice, if for no other purpose but to put on another set of glasses to compete with the grief, the loss, the anxiety, the loneliness. All of these things are part of the human condition, and now we are having to confront them together constantly. Which means I think that there's a discipline required. I always loathed that word as a child. You can only imagine when a parent uses the word discipline. Well, you just want to run, don't you? But discipline means an ordering of one's day, a laying out of a container that includes portals here and there to be able to stop and reconnect with that sense of deep peace, that sense of being held, and that understanding that we are all deeply connected to one another. So here's a hodgepodge of readings to respond to my hodgepodge week. Mary Oliver always gives us another set of glasses. Here is her poem entitled Storage. When I moved from one house to another, there were so many things I had no room for. What does one do? I rented a storage space and filled it. Years passed. Occasionally I went there and looked in, but nothing happened. Not a single twinge of the heart. As I grew older, the things I cared about grew fewer, but were more important. So one day I undid the lock and called the trash man. He took everything. I felt like the little donkey when his burden is finally lifted. Things. Burn them, burn them. Make a beautiful fire, more room in your heart for love for the trees, for the birds who own nothing, the reason they can fly. And from Jan Richardson's book, The Cure for Sorrow, I thought this was most appropriate. Blessing for the place between. We could be living in that place called between for quite a while. When you come to the place between, when you have left what you held most dear, when you are traveling toward the life you know not, when you arrive at the hardest ground, may it become for you a place to rest. May it become for you a place to dream. May the pain that has pressed itself into you give way to vision, to knowing. May the morning make of it an altar. a path, a place to begin again. I'm going to close with a prayer from the Abbey on Iona, a prayer that was used on Tuesday nights because Tuesday nights at the Abbey are evenings whereby we have prayers for healing and the laying on of hands. And so when we find ourselves in those hodgepodge days betwixt and between, when we're not sure what we want or what we need, we can always pray for others. And in that praying for others, acknowledging that we are simply a piece of this mystical, sacred whole. Jesus, people came to you when they were in trouble or pain. Friends carried them. Strangers told you about them. Some invited you into their homes or met you walking on the road. You listened to them, you prayed with them, and you brought hope and healing into their lives. So tonight we bring into our minds and hold collectively those for whom we have been asked to pray. We think in particular this evening all those engaged in the practice of healing and reconciliation, for those who work in hospitals and hospices, for doctors and nurses, for carers and counselors, for peacemakers and peacekeepers. God, our Creator, Jesus, our Healer, Holy Spirit of love and life, hear our prayers this evening. To those who seek you, to all who need you, to the world you cherish, bring healing, bring wholeness, bring peace. Healing and wholeness and peace. Let us aspire to those things, good friends, at the end of a dreary, rainy day. Healing, wholeness, and peace. Sleep well.